So it's been seeming like in the fighting game scene that when you think of like the top fighting games, it seems like the one that gets the most shine on it or whatever is always the Street Fighter game. Now, back when it was like Street Fighter 4 and UVMC 3, it kind of seemed like both of those were at the top for me, but you know, Street Fighter was still up there. So, with the games that we have now, you know, Tekken 7 is doing fantastic. We got Dragon Ball Fighters in here right now. You know, we have games that can really come and possibly take that throne of like, okay, we're the most popular, or we're looked at as like the top game in the scene. Do you feel like, you know, coming into a new decade, we got the new consoles out released right now, and you know, there's, you know, Street Fighter 5 is kind of having on it, you know, like a look of some people really don't look too favorably on it. Do you think there's a chance that a game could come and take that top spot? It's like the premier fighting game in the scene. So
I think it's very possible, especially it depends a lot on how Capcom operates with this next Street Fighter release. If they do it well, if they like really look at the mistakes they made from five and made from previous games and like add upon that, it could possibly still be in the top spot. But if not, then it might, you know, people might start thinking, okay, well, this is two games in a row where y'all kind of like dropped the ball a bit. So maybe we should give another game some attention. And right now we really hadn't seen a lot in terms of fighting games for next gen. We've seen Strive is going to be a next gen fighter. We have MK11 as a next gen fighter, just well, quote unquote, because it has the PS5 version. But I won't really count that a next gen fighter until MK12 or whatever the next NRS game is. So you know, possibly Injustice 3. Um, you know, we got
I want
Street
Injustice
Fighter
so
6.
bad. Like I want that new Injustice so bad.
I mean, I don't know. I would like to see Injustice 3, but I could do without it. I could sleep at night knowing that Injustice 3 doesn't exist, but you know, it'd be cool to see it. But yeah, like possibly Injustice 3, Street Fighter 6, maybe a new Marvel if it happens. And just as Octavian just said, at that time, if Street Fighter 4 was out, Marvel was right along with it. Two Capcom games dominating heavily. Those are usually when it got to a tournament at the end, those were like the two games, the two showcase games, Marvel and Street Fighter 4 at the end. Um, I don't know, like I said, I would kind of like to see another game come and take the throne. Maybe like some new fighting game IP just come out of nowhere and just start like, hey man, we here and we, you know, want to give y'all a good product. And I also I'm curious to see how this Riot fighting game is gonna develop. Um, you know, we heard about it, haven't really seen much on it, but hopefully that game comes out and shows some promising stuff with the screenshots and gameplay whenever that will be released because we hadn't seen really anything just yet. But yeah, I do think that there's a chance that Street Fighter can get knocked down. Tekken could possibly do it. The way Tekken is going right now, let's say that they do Tekken 7 and they end Tekken 7. Let's say they do Tekken 8 and Tekken 8 just picks right up where Tekken 7 left off. Good content, you know, good gameplay, and they just really give the people a good product. Tekken could take that throne. I think that has a good chance. Dragon Ball Fighters is doing pretty good right now. I don't know if they're gonna like opt out to do like a Dragon Ball Fighters 2 for next gen or just keep updating the original fighters, Fighter Z. So if this game keeps going with this like momentum, it could also be one to take the top spot. But again, like I said earlier, it all depends on if Capcom what they do with Street Fighter 6.
Um, I kind of agree. I think like Tekken could be the thing to take the throne from Street Fighter. I'm kind of hoping it does because I think if I feel like it's kind of Tekken's. It feels like it's Tekken's time, kind of, you know, to come in and really be like the top dog in terms of like fighting games. Um, I would hope it would be Tekken. If not Tekken, then I know this is very extreme wishful thinking, but maybe like Soul Calibur to like kind of come back and be like we get the same kind of hype or like something similar to how everybody felt about like Soul Calibur 2, you know, when like Soul Calibur 2 was out and everybody and their mother was playing Soul Calibur 2. I think like Street Fighter for a while. I mean, Street Fighter to me, like especially with Street Fighter 5, I mean, it's an all right game. I think it's good, but the thing about it is I feel like it's more due to like legacy than anything that Street Fighter 5 is kind of like Street Fighter was kind of in the limelight for as long as it's been, especially with during the time of Street Fighter 5, especially with so many other games out, you know, with like Tekken and Soul Calibur, even like Samurai Showdown, you know. I think like, but then again, like Samurai Showdown has its own missteps that kind of kept it from, you know, reaching prominence. Like so many things, like I don't think they ever brought Samurai Showdown to PC. I don't think that ever happened. And then King of Fighters 14, you know, they had their issues, and it took a long time for like the game to reach PC. And, you know, it's just, you know, all these issues with all these other games. And then of course, you know, I was kind of hoping that what was it? Fighting EX Layer. Before it came out, I was like, oh well, this might be a good contender for Street Fighter. But that Gogi system that they got going on in there, you should be able to turn that off. Like you should definitely be able to turn that off. I think like they're like, if you're in the middle of a fight and then all of a sudden somebody just like stops taking what do you call that, stun, you know, they just like if you punch them, they stop flinching. It's like, whoa, wait, why is this happening? That's part of the Gogi system from Fighting EX Layer. They put that's in the game. And it's like, really, if you're just starting out playing the game, it's really confusing. And then you learn about it, you're just like, I don't know, man. It's interesting, but I don't know if I don't know, man. It's a little bit weird. But yeah, I think Street Fighter is more based on a legacy thing than it is like, you know, people remember what they felt like playing like Street Fighter 4, like arcade edition and Super Street Fighter 4 and like Ultra Street Fighter 4 and stuff. Like Street Fighter 4 was great, and you know, I guess people kind of went forward into Street Fighter 5 with that hope, and like, you know, it was kind of spotlighted when it really, like we were talking about how bare bones it was, and like it was spotlighted when it really, I mean, in my opinion, didn't really deserve the kind of spotlight that it got. It just kind of got grandfathered in. If you're like, you know, like kind of got grandfathered into the spotlight that Street Fighter 4 kind of was holding before. So and hopefully in the next whatchamacallit, like, you know, it'll be like people kind of like, I mean, it'll be based more on merit than it is on, oh well, you know, like, well, we're used to having Street Fighter be like the main game, so like the next Street Fighter is just going to be the main game. Like, let's actually base it on how good the game is instead of how good the last game was, or even the game before that was, you know. Because I mean, even right now, obviously Street Fighter 5 isn't necessarily the most like popular like Street Fighter game to most people. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing what good game takes over. Hopefully it's a 3D fighter. I mean, I'd be open to even seeing like the next Virtua Fighter take over.
Well, it's kind of like what you said, Evan. I mean, you know, Street Fighter 5 was kind of grandfathered in. It's just because the Street Fighter series is just the grandfather of all this. I mean, when you think of Street Fighter 2, it's the one that like kicked off fighting games in the, you know, a lot of people's eyes. And then next thing you know, you go to Street Fighter 4, and it's the one that basically kind of revived the scene. So when you think of stuff like that, you kind of, it's understandable why Street Fighter 5, it came out and it was just automatically pushed up there. It's just like, oh, it's the next Street Fighter. It's big and bad. But also at the same time, a lot of the thing we base this off of is just, you know, who ends the night at the tournament and stuff like that. And when it comes to who ends the night at the tournament, like, you know, back then when it was UMVC 3 and Street Fighter 4, you know, I used to always wonder like, oh, who they're gonna let in the night tonight? Who's it gonna be this time? But a lot of that has to do with just how many entrants it is for the tournament. So a lot of this is gonna be just decided by how many people actually show up to play the game. So a lot of this is gonna fall back on the community to just go and support the game that they really feel like it's a good game, because at the end of the day, like, you know, I mean, Evo Combo Breaker, whatever, is not going to end the night with them fighting herds if only 200 people are, you know, in the tournament when you got like 5,000 in Street Fighter. You know, you have to think of like sponsors and stuff like that. You want to end your night on a big bang, you know, with as many views as you can and stuff like that. So, you know, it's different factors that come into this. But I'd love to see another game take that spot if Street Fighter 6 doesn't deserve it. You know, if Street Fighter 6 it comes out and it is the bee's knees, then, you know, I guess we just gonna have another Street Fighter up there. But I mean, if it releases and it's obviously not that good, and we have people like games like Tekken 7 and things like that that should really come and take the place because it's, you know, the better game, it's doing more for the scene, then yeah, it needs to go ahead and take that position. So I'm with Evan in that we need to go basically off the merit, but at the same time we need to get the community behind that to really go with that. Because I mean, if Street Fighter 6 turns out to be a bad game, but you still have, you know, thousands of people going into it because it's Street Fighter, you can make money off of it, then we just gonna have Street Fighter 6 running the thing again for however long it's gonna be out. So that's my thoughts on it.